Hello, my name is Alan Appel, and I would like to present a research proposal for a study entitled, Would Health Information About Meat versus Plant-Based Diets Modify Consumer Attitudes Toward Plant-Based Diets? With greater economic prosperity, animal consumption has increased worldwide. Ironically, there has been a corresponding epidemic increase in obesity and diseases such as heart disease and cancer. This chart shows the dramatic percentage increase in obesity among U.S. children and adolescents over the last 6 decades, from approximately 5% to 20%. This is not mere overweight, but obesity. A substantial and growing body of research demonstrates that a plant-based diet and minimization or elimination of animal products alleviates animal suffering, mitigates livestock pollution of the environment, is economical. A pound of rice or a pound of beans costs $1, while meat costs as much as $10, and is also beneficial to the health of individuals. National Geographic funded a research project that identified blue zones around the planet where people live the longest, all living on a plant-based diet. Okinawa is one of those zones, and this chart shows what they eat, primarily plants, with only 1% fish, 1% eggs, and 1% meat. This presents a problem of not what to eat, but will consumers adopt a plant-based diet when confronted with information about its healthfulness? How difficult will it be for people to change their diets? Let's take a look at the percent of people presently living on a plant-based diet. Only 2% of the U.S. population are vegetarians or vegans. The majority of the population are meat consumers. It would appear convincing that such a large majority of changing their lifestyle is a major task. This study will analyze K through 12 grade school dietitians' propensity to reduce their meat intake. Dietitians were selected because they have a significant influence over what food is made available to children, and hence the attitudes toward food of future adults. Study subjects will be acquired through an advertisement in the school nutrition magazine. The magazine is highly targeted to grade school dietitians with a circulation of 38,000. The ad will link to a web page that provides a survey to determine respondents' present dispositions toward consuming meat by asking respondents to categorize themselves as omnivores or vegetarian/vegans, and whether they had already viewed the film entitled What the Health. Those omnivores who had not previously viewed the film would complete a survey of their attitudes toward meat after viewing it. There would be a follow-up survey a month later to see if respondents actually changed their meat intake. The What the Health film graphically demonstrates the damage of meat production and consumption to animals, the environment, and human health. Even the culpability of health organizations in supporting unhealthy eating patterns is presented. The film is extremely powerful, well-documented, and informative. Viewers rated it highly. IMDb users rated it high in spite of the fact that it is controversial and attacks the powerful meat industry and those people committed to having meat in their diets. Respondents' self-evaluations will be used for descriptive statistics. Respondents will be categorized as to being omnivores or vegetarians/vegans, and whether or not they had already seen the film. They will report on their intent to reduce meat consumption immediately after viewing, and their actual meat reduction a month later. The control group will not see the film. Inferential statistics include a confidence level of 95% and a chi-square test of experimental and control groups. G-power analysis will be used to determine the sample size. In G-power, alpha will be set at 0.05, Medium effect size will be W equals 0.3. Power will be at 0.8. And 5 degrees of freedom will result in a sample size of 143. The omnivore group would be split into a control and experimental groups, studied to determine if viewing the film by the experimental group correlated with an intent to reduce meat intake, and if this differed from the control group. I would retest a month later to determine if the experimental group actually reduced meat intake and compare this with the control group. The independent variables would be viewing the film, while the dependent variables are intent to reduce meat intake and actual reduction of the level of consumption. The null hypotheses are that after watching the film, respondents will report no change in intent to reduce meat consumption, and a month later there will be no actual meat reduction. If the p-values of the tests of these hypotheses is smaller or equal to the alpha significance level of 0.05, I would reject the null hypothesis and determine there were changes in meat consumption intention and the actual intake were associated with viewing the film and obtaining information about meat intake. There are limitations to the validity and reliability of the study, of course, and volunteer dietitians may be different from the universe of dietitians. There also may be a bias error in self-reporting. Dietitians' personal values may not transfer to what they serve children. Funding will be sought from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and those supporting and conducting the research will have no conflict of interest. Understanding the amount of resistance to accepting a plant-based or reduced meat diet when confronted with dietary information is an important addition to determining the degree to which nutritional lifestyles can be improved as a first step in their amelioration. The film is so informative about nutrition that all dietitians may benefit from viewing it. So this author will donate and seek donations from others so that all participants, the control group and the existing vegetarian vegans, to see it, even though it is not part of the study. Thank you.